Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Thank you guys for joining us. We see Ray Ray's in the house. Nuclear quantum lasers. Pew, pew, pew.
God smoke, zero rich, art of war and peace. I like that. Hi, Kimberly.
Hey there, sister. Tanzanite Wolf. Jesse LeBlanc. I know Stephen King is from Maine. I've spent a decent amount of time in Maine when I was a kid. Beautiful state, gorgeous. But then I expect pretty much like the Pacific Northwest, I would think. Don't know his background, but boy, he wrote some amazing books, did he not?
Indeed, he sure did.
And now we're living in the stand, apparently. You know, hey, Watchman, good to see you. How are you doing? Not sure. What part of the country are you in, Watchman? I know Nuclear Quantum Lasers is over there in Florida. Some others in the family that I'm recognizing here over in California as well. We know this thing is growing all over the place. Michelle, nice to see you. You're over in Greece. Absolutely beautiful over there. Sanford P, you're in Florida. Excalibur. Delaware for Tanzanite. UK Essex for Godsmoke. Boston, England, in the house. Roar, Grizzly! Here comes the Cindy roar. This is the famous Cindy roar. It's going to sound pretty ferocious now.
Well, okay, ready?
Ready.
Roar!
Okay, kitty cat. Yeah, Ray Ray's in Texas, Wales, UK, Lovelock, Rhode Island, St. Louis, Indiana. I know there's a few cases over in Indiana. I didn't see any in Ohio. I was checking up on where my kids are. I didn't see any there. Reports from Ohio, Blackhawks during drills in Walmart parking lots. Interesting. I wonder what part of Ohio, Joseph Kelly. Portugal is implementing war hospitals in front of the major hospitals. Yeah. It's going to another level. ID 2020. You know, I started to put together a video on that, and then something big happened with this, and I got distracted, and that was like 5 days ago. I haven't gotten back to it. There's always, like, I keep something, a little app says keep my notes, and I throw things on it about, you know, what videos to make and stuff, and sometimes I get distracted because there's so much going on. Like, you could do, you know, just nonstop reporting on COVID-19 right now. Just keep it going 24 hours a day. There's so much. But we need breaks too, and we need to see what else is going on. As you guys might have seen, they're swarming over, you know, in the greater Cascadia area, the Juan de Fuca area. So keep an eye on that as well. Oh, there's 3 cases in Cuyahoga. Okay. In Ohio. Yeah, my kids are in the Columbus area. Cuyahoga's beautiful. Yeah, I love that area over there too. It's real nice. Alabama's beautiful state. Hello there, Randall. So, yeah, guys, lots going on. Obviously, you know, one of the big things that we got going on is Italy. First, want to jump over to these young ladies who are enjoying their happy hour.
They are. That looks so like, oh man, I would just love to do that with my best friend husband someday. But I don't think we're gonna go on a ship again. I'm not sure.
I love the ocean. You know, I really, really do. My grandfather spent his entire life on the ocean. He was career Navy, like 40 years. He went into Navy when he was like 15 or 16. He lied about his age to get in there. So yeah, the water's in my blood for sure. I love it, and it can be fun. But you know, there's no way in the world I would do a cruise right now. Not right now. Although, you know, they're making the best of it. You know, they got their wine out. This is hot chicken. It was a Grand Princess update from Oakland. So they were just talking about, you know, what they experienced. And I got the link there tied to this live broadcast for you guys to check it out. And so over Let's look at this map. As we see, it's getting redder and redder. Now Europe is almost all covered in red. The Middle East is starting to get to be a big red blob. Of course, China is completely covered. And we see more red all over North America as well. The U.S. is starting to get red there.
It is. It's like chicken pox broke out, and it's just not. But it's not getting any smaller.
No, not at all. And so, and you've been following, everybody's probably heard all that about the test kits. We watched President Trump and then Pence talk, and then Fauci and others talking about everything going on. I didn't really hear a lot of substance when you get down to it. Just, well, the president seemed to be all concerned about the markets and all the finances going on. That you could see that's what he was really thinking about. And then he booked out quick. And he booked out while people were asking him, have you been tested? Have you been tested? And he didn't answer. And then Mike Pence said, I don't know the answer. I promise I'll get back to you on that. So, that's one of the questions going on as we're going to see more of what's going down. One thing I want to point out, when you look at these cases, right, 113,585 is the official confirmed. Almost 4,000 deaths right now. 63,625 they say totally recovered. So when you look at the deaths, right, 3,024 deaths, Hubei, mainland China, right? That's 3,000 out, almost 4,000. So that leaves like 25% for the rest of the world. Look at Italy, 463 deaths, right? When we look at the numbers over here, again, mainland China, 80,735 cases. Italy, 9,172. So, let that settle in, because China is a populous country. There's so many people in China. Italy's not that big. Italy's like, California's got like 45 million people. Italy's got, let's take a peek over here. Italy's got 62. So California is maybe as big as, Italy's maybe as big as, putting California with maybe Washington, and that would be about as many people there. Probably a little bit bigger than Washington. Maybe, Florida's 20-something million. So it's not that big a country, because China has 1.4 billion people total, right? 1.4 billion people compared to 62 million people. That works out to be almost 21 times, almost 21 times the population. So when we look at the numbers, and let me just grab my handy duty calculator here, guys. So even going 20 times, then to bring it to the same population as mainland China, relatively, you'd be looking at 183,440 cases. And mainland China is showing 80,000 cases. So more than double. So my point on that, and let's look at the deaths, 463. If you times that by 20, that's 9,260. And mainland showing 3,024. So that's way more. It's 3 times. So my point again is that original mindset that was saying that this is something that if you're, if you don't have that ACE2 receptors in, your lungs, and you're not of a certain blood type, you're not going to have to worry about this. This is just an Asian thing you're going to have to worry. That's not the case at all. Not the case at all, because Italy is getting hit harder than China did, if the numbers from China are even remotely close. So it's either showing that Italy is being a little bit more truthful, right? Or this thing's mutated and it's worse now than it was there. Yeah, and perhaps it'll be different strains. We know there's 2 strains anyway. We know there's 2 strains anyway, and one's milder than the other. So, who's getting which strain? But right now, Italy and the thought is Iran's numbers are very, very low too. And it's much worse than it is. They're getting hammered big time.
Yeah, Kanzi says like everyone's in on it. Yeah, they are. Everywhere from, everybody has a part to play. It is a stage, and it's not like they're on our side. They're on their side. They're looking out for them. And, that's why we're here trying to pick stuff apart, and hopefully we can get a step ahead of it, or at least parallel with it, so we can do something productive.
So, Ricky, you said Camden, South Carolina community spread? Because Camden, I used to live in Elgin, 2 towns over. That's where my ex is. So, yeah, I know that area so well. There's cases in Camden, South Carolina. I wasn't aware of that, but it's so tough to keep up with everything on this. Wow. How many cases, I wonder? Yeah, Camden's not a big town. It's a horse town, a lot of horse racing and stuff. Yeah. I lived in Elgin for like 3 years, and then over in Lexington and Irmo, and then went down to the Hilton Head area for a while, working. Two cases in Bridgeport, Connecticut. My God, you guys know where I'm at. So, yeah, that's where my mom was, So, yeah, this thing is everywhere. It is everywhere. It definitely is a small world. Kathleen lived in Goose Creek. Yeah, I love Charleston, one of my favorite areas. Yeah, I know. They're following us all around, nuclear. They are. So my point is with Italy is it's not good. These are horrible numbers coming out of Italy right now. Horrible. These are very scary. When you look at the size of the population and all. So, it hasn't been in Italy as long as it was in China. And again, if we were to take the deaths in Italy and make the population proportionate to China's population, you'd be looking at 9,260 deaths, which is 3 times what China's showing. So China's either lying, which we have our suspicions about that, or this thing got a lot more deadly in Italy. And when we look at Iran, there's 237 deaths on 7,161 cases. So we've already heard them say they're not going to really give us the true numbers. So suspicions might be that it might even be worse than Italy right now. And proportionately, that looks relatively close in line with Italy. When we look at South Korea, there's only 53 deaths. So they say 7,478 cases. They were one of the best countries at testing early on here. So, it almost feels to me like maybe it's the opposite of what they had said before. We don't know what the numbers are truly, and that's the thing that really sucks. But you got to be suspicious. It's either a mutation or certain strains in certain areas. This whole thing is so suspicious. So rounding it out, France is now up next. So you have China, Italy, South Korea, Iran. Then we go to France at 1,209 cases, Germany 1,176, Spain 1,073, U.S. now at 605 climbing, and as more testing gets done, you'll probably see that climb a lot. Then Japan at 511, Switzerland 374, Netherlands 321, UK 321, Sweden 248, Belgium 239, and there's not a lot of people in. We could look up the population of like Belgium, for instance. Would you look it up? Yeah. Looking at Belgium population. It's got to be pretty small for 239 cases. Norway 205, and then you go to Singapore 150, Austria 131, Malaysia 117, Hong Kong 115. Again, it makes me think that there's only 11.4 million people in Belgium. So again, that's not a big population. That's 1/6 that of Italy. And so, it's spreading fast in the European nations is, again, the point. Getting back to that original thought, I mean, many people believe this is a bioweapon. You guys in the chat room, do you think it's a bioweapon?
From what I've seen, it is definitely a bioweapon in the 2 strains. I think Ricky said her case where she's at, they said it's non-symptomatic. We just don't know what it is yet. And I think as long as we are not sure, we probably shouldn't take any chances, because the information's coming out is that, if you do get the nasty strain, it is pretty bad and it's pretty contagious. So, I just err on the side of caution is what we're going to continue to do. And, hopefully a lot of you guys maybe will gain more support from family members over time, or at least maybe the family will start to respect your needs, wishes, and desires as this goes on for you to want to stay healthy and safe.
Devil Speak says 7.8 billion people and only 4,000 deaths, not a bioweapon. But, do we believe that's only 4,000 deaths? Just running the math like people had done on Wuhan and the crematoriums with the, smoke coming out of them. And we see the same thing with bodies piling up in Iran. So it looks like it's a superly underreported. That's what it looks like. It looks like it's tremendously underreported. We had all those reports from HIV insertions to, we had the pictures of the Chinese officials in the Canadian lab, and then we have all these leaks, and we have Event 201 and all this going on. It could be because now we are definitely witnessing a financial collapse. Maybe that's the main purpose for this thing. Maybe it is all about bringing in financial collapse, bringing about in that, NWO, one currency, one united world, one currency. When you look at it, though, they've always controlled through division. They do want to control us through one currency per se, but yet still keep us divided. So we're always fighting amongst each other. I don't doubt that there's multiple agendas going on. The financial one is definitely probably one of the big ones going on. That's huge to watch right now, and we could jump a little bit ahead of ourselves right now. Let me see. Okay, let's go with this one. So circuit breaker halts stock trading for the first time since 1997. Standard & Poor's 500 fell 7%. The collapse is just starting now. Black Monday, you guys remember that back in 1987? S&P 500 tumbled 20%. They put the brakes on today, but it's probably going to go tumbling tomorrow. The president spoke strongly about they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to give us all tax cuts. Yay. That's going to solve everything. They always throw that out there, but yet the gap between the rich and the poor, it just always keeps increasing no matter how many tax cuts they say they give us. Oil plunges 24%, worst day since 1991, hits multi-year low after OPEC deal failure sparks price war. And price wars can lead to real wars, as we know if we look at history, and I've seen some really intelligent comments on that by you guys that follow. As you see here, Dow sinks 2,000 points in the worst day since 2008. Standard & Poor's, as we just talked about. So the financial end of it most definitely is a huge end of it. And President Trump he talked almost exclusively, really, about the financial end of it. And then he let Pence take over and do the rest of it, along with the others in tow. Oil stocks rip higher after Trump promises very dramatic actions to support the economy. So, and that was a hell of a tie. That's a bold tie he's sporting there today. It's a power pink tie. I actually owned one of those. I would never wear it, and then my buddy, he came out with his power pink, and he said, "You're gonna wear yours next day." I said, "I'll play a game of pool," and he won, so I had to wear it. And It was all right. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with pink. It just was, I was always a very conservative type of dresser.
It's suspiciously pastel for maybe Easter, perhaps. Today was like a pastel yellow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
So, after the almost biggest single day drop since Black Monday, it's hardly surprising that markets are bouncing back a little. And all it took was the promise of a very, very substantial relief to hardworking Americans hurt by the impact of the virus. So during the daily virus update press conference, President Trump said his administration will discuss a possible payroll tax cut with the Senate, saying that they would seek very substantial relief for the economy. I mean, he did talk about people that work hour to hour and how people, or was it Pence that was talking? I thought it was the president, about people that are hourly and, they're counting on every hour to pay their bills because, almost half the country lives basically completely paycheck to paycheck. And if that paycheck doesn't come in, then, and they're not stocked up and, things are not going to get paid and they're not going to be able to function. So obviously there's going to be people that are going to be knowing that they're sick, not want to get tested, and instead just go to work and infect more people. And so that's what they obviously are going to try to make it so that they don't do. What these dramatic actions will look like, we'll see, because just like that, it was like dropping. Whoop, okay, we're getting it going again. But again, how long is it going to last? I don't know. What happens when another country goes on lockdown, just like Italy just went completely on lockdown. And so getting back to that, again, the proportion with Italy, they're getting hit. Well, if China gave us real numbers, they're getting hit worse than China proportionally. Italy expands lockdown. Israel tightens entry to halt the virus. Okay, and we see over here Italian prisons in uproar as lockdown expanded to all of Italy. So you got first 2 corona deaths in Germany, 7 dead as prison riots spread across Italy. So think about that, and Florida Mackey had talked about what's going to happen in the U.S. Now he was talking about it more in terms of when the grid goes down, there's going to be a lot of prisoners that they're either going to die from starvation and other things inside the prisons, or they're going to let them out, one of the two. And, this is what they're seeing in Italy now, is they're seeing all sorts of prison riots. So they reported 1,797 new cases, bringing a total to 9,172 as deaths increased by 27% overnight to 463. So, I mean, that's amazing. And then if we look over here, Italy quarantines the entire country, and you got tanks on the street. And that's out of Hal Turner. And this is News Chambers, Italy. 60 million people under lockdown. More than 9,000 cases reported. It was 233 2 weeks ago. So that's quite a doubling and doubling. 231 2 weeks ago. Now there's 9,000. All sporting events suspended. All schools, universities closed. Theaters, gyms, bars, funerals, and weddings barred. Wow. Funerals and weddings. Now there's questions about funerals and, how do we know, all the deaths because we're not seeing anybody having funerals and stuff. Well, that's part of being on lockdown. And every country handles it differently. We did see mass graves out of Iran. And in China, we did see body bags lined up on the street to be rounded up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to look at, you guys. And I know Raven brought up, and a lot of people have brought up, while we're watching the virus, what else is going on? There's a lot going on. There's FIVEG. There's the pharmaceutical industry is, I shouldn't have said that, really ramping up production. They're really excited. I know they're waiting there with their hands out. They can hardly wait to shell out these miracle pills. There's a lot to watch, and that's kind of why we do this, because I do believe that there are many facets of this whole thing. It's not just that one thing.
Santa Clara reports second CV-19 death, 3 more deaths in Washington State. LA reports first case community spread. De Blasio says New York City quarantine a possibility. After yesterday we were saying there's rumors of it. Now he's saying it's a possibility. WHO's number one man there says threat of a pandemic has become very real, but we're not going to declare it. Confirmed cases, over 1,000 now in France, Germany, Spain. 22 deaths U.S. Canada reports first death in British Columbia. German state of Brandenburg has between 4,000 and 5,000 home quarantining right now. Trump's going to meet with Wall Street CEOs Wednesday. South Korea imposes travel advisory, confirms another 96 cases, 3 new deaths. Hungary stops all flights to and from northern Italy. Well, it doesn't matter. It's complete lockdown now anyway. And Prime Minister Johnson says the UK won't close Parliament. So, yeah. So it's falling apart over in Italy right now. We see 2-week isolation ordered for all who enter Israel. So if you want to go visit Israel right now, you're going to spend 2 weeks in a quarantine.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's just absolutely insane. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff.
I don't see why people would really be traveling right now with everything going, And then we have President Trump retweets what we were talking about yesterday. He says he doesn't know what this means. So he says, who knows what this means? But it sounds good to me. So, interesting. And then, of course, there's those that say it's all Q related, and it's just confirming something that Q said. But, it's I know there's a lot of people that love and believe in Q out there. But being suspicious, I think, more in terms of, well, it seemed to be an obvious thing to do is have one of your staffers or somebody on the inside or, just to get this whole elaborate thing going and just kind of string people along, because how would Q know? Well, because Q's on the inside, they're all working together. But, that's how I look at it. Always wish for there to be that, knight in shining armor. That's always a nice thing to hope for. But we always see that no matter what goes on, like we were talking about these tax cuts and stuff, every single president that passes by, whether it's Democrat or Republican, the gap between the rich and the poor increases, military spending increases. As far as Big Brother goes, more surveillance, less rights. That it's keep moving in the same direction. It hasn't changed. It's still going on. I do have an idea for another video that I'm sure will be really buried by the powers that be, as far as trying to block it getting out. Just showing all the things that are enacted that people don't recognize. There's so many things that have been enacted that will chill you to the bone, as far as presidential decrees and things along those lines that don't really get covered so out in the open. So, going on to this mysterious part now, Trump is postponing the second part of his mysterious annual physical. He's postponing it. He says he said he'll probably do it sometime in the next 30 days. I'm so busy I can't do it right now. Okay, because, as we're talking about, over here you see DC news outlets ask reporters who covered CPAC to self-quarantine due to coronavirus concerns. As we know, he's quarantining himself. Ted Cruz is going to self-quarantine as well. Mark Schlapp, the head of the American Conservative Union, which puts out CPAC, has said he shook this person's hand that knows that he did test positive for coronavirus, and then he shook President Trump's hand after interacting with the infected person. The White House says the president never interacted with the infected person and shows no symptoms of the virus. So U.S. Senator Ted Cruz, Representative Paul A. Gosar have also self-quarantined because they interacted with the infected person. So a lot of questions. That was what the reporters wanted to see. And this is our Daily Beast. CPAC attendees want to know who the mysterious coronavirus patient is. You know, it's one of those things where you just want to know. And you know, what would things change if President Trump came down with it? You know, how would things change?
Well, I think because a lot of people do still appreciate the president and they do look up to him and respect him. So if he did quarantine, then people would probably take it a lot more seriously, of course.
Well, yeah, especially like with him saying I'm not worried and things like that. Mm-hmm. So it would be like if he did come down with it, and then when you look at his age group, which we've talked about before, like yesterday, at his age group, I think it was 10%. It was like 9.8%. It's fatal. Yeah. You know, so it would be that's pretty high. You know, so you have to really take it seriously. Anxiety in an aging Congress as coronavirus marches across the U.S. And there is talk about shutting down Congress. So that's what we're wondering. Is that going to happen as things keep going on? You know, there's numerous people now that are self-isolating. Numerous, you know, lawmakers that are self-isolating right now. And members of Congress are very nervous. A senior Democratic leadership aide said there's a lot of concern that members could bring it home. But again, you know, when you look at it, like Nancy Pelosi is 80, I think, right? 79 or 80. Yeah. You know, at 80, it's like, oh gosh, what was that? 15 to 20%. I have to look up the chart again. But very high, you know. So, and there was another article saying, why is the country's leadership so old? You know, look at Bernie and Biden, you know, 77 and 78. And there's no way I'm buying that all of a sudden Biden is leading in the polls. I think that just shows just how fixed the whole thing is.
Mm-hmm. You know, another thing I'm curious about too, because they were all standing there and, you know, they weren't wearing masks or anything. And Trump hasn't been against that V word thing. I wonder if they didn't get something that's and
if they've already had
a safe, something that truly is safe vaccine. So that's just something that, you know, I was bopping around in my head.
Well, I mean, it's a good thought. Maybe they already have something that they've taken, so they know that they are okay. Yeah. Trump refuses to say if he's been tested for coronavirus and storms out of White House briefing on crisis after Air Force One passenger Matt Gaetz goes into quarantine, but reveals the president asked him to see him despite virus fears. So he came, this is Congressman Matt Gaetz, announced he came into contact with the individual at CPAC who had the coronavirus and is self-quarantining. And then he interacted with President Trump. And President Trump wasn't worried, you know, about the interaction. So, you know, curious. This is really interesting and really curious. And, you know, this is Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. So this is out of Iran. He's the former president, or is he still the president now? I'm getting confused on this one, of Iran. But what he says is what they think. And it's clear to the world that the mutated coronavirus was produced in a lab, manufactured by warfare stockhouses of biological war belonging to the world powers, and it constitutes a threat on humanity more destructive than any other weapons that target humanity. Wow, you know, I mean, there's a statement right there. So yeah, you know, basically saying it's yeah, he's still the president. So no, former president. That's what I thought. So obviously, he says it's biological warfare. He thinks it is. There's been many. And then there's been so many, you know, in high places in Iran that have died. So, I mean, it's hitting them really, really hard over there.
Thank you so much, Spooky Action. Thanks for most everything except for the 75% of GSM. Haha. To each his own. Right. Good luck with your homestead. Dig into deep, cool earth before early summer. We are working on that. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah, we're just waiting on the closing process. Even this is just plain land. There's nothing on it but just tumbleweeds. So, and a lot of bunnies, and we saw a vinegaroon.
Yeah, vinegaroon.
So, in case you guys don't know what a vinegaroon is, it looks pretty damn nasty. Is that what the technical name is?
Yeah, vinegaroon. It looks like a scorpion. It's like a pull it up online. It's like a desert or a desert spider. I can't remember if some people say if it bites you, you taste vinegar, but I don't think it bites. It's like stings. And they're quite aggressive. But this one that we saw it's a sun color. We don't have these beautiful black ones here, but those are scorpions, aren't they? Oh yeah, okay. The yellow ones they have these pincers, these little pincers, and they are just gnarly looking. They do look like scorpions, but they're not, and they'll play with you. They'll like make sure you can't get past them. So,
look at all their babies.
Oh my God, so disgusting, you guys. It's so gross. But anyway, yeah, we're going to have a lot of new friends.
Well, we got these guys. We saw that. And I've seen one of, I think it was this, or I'm not sure if it was this or a scorpion in the art here. So you get used to that, but we had a tarantula too, and we've had a snake cross our paths, but not too much really, not too much out there overall. But it's things to be aware of in your surroundings. So,
The comments, they're adorable. Steve, yes, they've been known as camel spiders too.
Oh, okay.
And then Grizzly says, Spider, you lost me. Yeah, that was a little segue. We're sorry, Grizz. We're sorry. Quantum says, oh, he would eat it. Of course you would.
Well, yeah, it's and again, supposedly you taste vinegar if they get you.
Yeah. But they're actually known to have some weird curing ability too for some things. They're really quite a strange creature.
So we have a comment by Frackin' Toaster. Was a janitor told specifically by managers, skip mopping and wiping? Do you trust others protect your children? No, that's why I would not have my kids in school like a while ago. Well, a while ago, most definitely. But then again, I'd be all for homeschooling in the first place. And
if they live, humans spray and stink too. Isn't that so true?
See, Earthkeeper says they're good for controlling insects in the vegetable garden.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we'll have to name them.
Yes, we'll name them.
Yeah, we'll have to name them. So it takes an average of 5 days for symptoms to show, a new study says. The vast majority of those infected will develop symptoms within 12 days. And so that's in line with self-isolating for 14. And then, of course, we've seen that people that test positive well after the fact as well. To avoid mass hysteria, Amazon, Facebook ban ads for viral products. What? Really? So all of a sudden, people are panic buying virus-related prevention products like N95 respirators, surgical masks, Purell, all that stuff, right? So interesting that we live in a world where every corporation thinks it knows what's best for us. And, the censorship is just so rampant. It's absolutely disgusting. And this is just another example of this. So we're banning ads and commerce listings selling medical face masks. Well, I mean, there aren't going to be many anyway, so we're monitoring COVID-19 closely. We'll make necessary updates to our policies.
Candace says, I'm appalled. I told my mom to insist on testing tomorrow. Her husband is sick, also with flu-like symptoms. Yeah, I mean, you can do what you can. Personally, I don't know if I would want to be tested because I don't want anybody to come and quarantine my home. But do keep a close eye on your family. I'm so sorry they're sick. I hope they start feeling better soon. Also, I've heard that it's costing people up to $3,000 to get tested because maybe some insurances won't cover it. I'm not sure. I haven't looked in on that specifically. But yeah, I mean, it's a very scary world right now. It is, especially when our loved ones come down with this. I mean, what are we supposed to do? We trust, and your aunt is in the hospital with pneumonia. Wow. Yeah, we trust the doctors to make us well, but it doesn't seem to work that way. The school systems ruin our education. The justice system is corrupt. The hospitals, doctors make us sick. And that's the world we live in. And it's really scary to wake up and face that and know that you're kind of on your own in many ways. I'm sorry. I do hope your loved ones get better. Mickey the Ironworker, thank you. What do you think of the next country to go on full quarantine? Or what do you think the next country to go full quarantine? I'm not sure, Mickey. What do you think?
Well, Iran basically and Italy seem to be getting the worst of it right now. You're seeing France is rising, Spain is rising, Germany's rising. So, more than likely it would be one of those, I think, that you would see next. Because Iran's not going to really they're not going to tell us everything. They're going to be kind of quiet. So if I had to lay my money on the line, I'd probably go with France or Spain or Germany. Well, I'll say France. But then again, I don't like Macron because he's a Rothschild as well, protege. So he might not want to shut that down. I'll say Spain. That would be my guess. Okay, coronavirus can stay in the air for 30 minutes, travel twice safe distance, according to a study. So, yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. We were just in a small little dollar store, and then, you hear somebody coughing in the corner, and then you go walk like a minute later through an area. They're not there anymore, but right. Is it just floating about in the air? Yeah. Think about that. I mean, there's no way. And I feel like I'm relatively strong energetically and, very healthy. When I was, about 5 years ago, I had my, genetic age tested. There's a test that my naturopath does, my naturopath back up in Ohio. So she tested me to basically find out what my biological age was, and it showed up as being like 21, 22. And she was amazed. But I think I've taken really good care of myself. I mean, I've always been somebody that works out, eats well, meditation, QiGong, and I really think that does wonders for you. So, biological age is something very different than chronological age, because you have a lot of people that biological age might be 20 years younger or 20 years older than what they really, are, than their chronological age. So I do think that, again, we could look at it this way. Look at how the kids are not affected that much. There are cases of kids that are sick, but on the whole, they're not. So, with all that in mind, I still wouldn't get on a subway now. There's no way in the world I'd go on an airplane. I wouldn't go on a bus. A very good friend said they took like 5 buses in a day, and I was thinking, are you freaking crazy? You're watching all this stuff, right. But my God, why would you be going on 5 different buses, jam-packed with people? I mean, that blew my mind. I couldn't believe that I heard that. I just don't see why you wouldn't play it safe at this point in time, because we don't know what this is still. There's a lot of people that think it's nothing. There's those that think it's triggered by FIVEG. There's those that think it's a bioweapon. It sure seems like Italy is taking it hard and serious. They got tanks on the streets. They have basically a medical martial law situation going on right now. Iran seems to really have a ton of deaths. It really does seem to be the case. Scientists warn about dangerous tipping point where COVID-19 goes from mild to deadly. So it does seem to be very different in different areas, unless a lot of countries are just completely lying. So as researchers, doctors, and epidemiologists spend more time studying this new virus under a microscope, as well as the 100 100,000 plus infections. They have identified a tipping point at which the virus goes from dangerous to deadly in extremely susceptible patients. According to research, while many patients experience nothing more than a mild cold, 1 in 7 patients develops difficulty breathing. And there was a link to Facebook that I got, which showed an actual autopsy in the lungs, which I thought would be too yucky to show, but just massive fluid buildup. So that's one of obviously the severe complications. 6% become critically ill, require hospitalization. Now, we've seen other numbers too, like the numbers coming from China were showing that if you're admitted into the hospital, it was not good getting back out as far as the numbers. And you have New York Governor Cuomo saying the state's going to produce 100,000 gallons of hand sanitizer made by prisoners. And the liquid will have a very nice floral bouquet.
Right. I know, right? It's a lot of strangeness going on, a lot of information flying back and forth. I don't know what to do with it. It's kind of crazy what we're looking at, But the thing is we need to look at it. It needs to be dissected a little bit because it's such a big topic, whether there is or isn't, fake, not fake. It's just something that's begging for attention, but I don't want to give it the wrong attention. I want to try to empower people to go within and know that we can raise our immune system. We can raise up above this. It's very, very important that we just try not to focus too much on the problem, but also look at the solution.
So as Pearl says, we do create our own reality. Beliefs in the illness will make a lot sick too. Very true. We do. I think that's all about, I do think when we're positive, again, it increases our Wei Qi field, which is like our force field. It's our shields. We talked about the Earth's shields, the magnetosphere being down because of grand solar minimum, also because of the poles, the magnetic pole, basically in a reversal, at least an excursion. And so when the shields are down, things can get through. It's the same thing with our biological shields as well, our personal biological shields. So when we do things like QiGong and we intentionally draw in the life force, also slow down our breathing, it shifts us into a state of mind where the body starts to really build and store energy. When we're in fear, we're constantly emitting cortisol, and that's the fight or flight, and that's going to get us eventually into adrenal fatigue and much more susceptible. Thank you, Henry. Various countries seem to be manipulating their numbers. And off topic, Antasanya is a coward. He ran the whole time and should have been a draw or a win for Romero. That was like the most disappointing fight ever. And I was super unimpressed with both of them. Adesanya could have started to become something with that, and the way Romero started off the fight was just bizarre. But neither one of them did anything, and especially after the girls, I felt so bad for the girls because they laid it on the line so hard. Joanna you couldn't even recognize her. And they both had to go straight to the hospital. And these guys, were just a joke. Mickey the Ironworker, he's Hispanic, Latin American, not getting hit hard. Am I okay? Again, I think, if you're healthy, you're probably going to be okay because that's what it shows. Obviously it's going to take out the weak first. So we really have to, and this was the first video I was going to do today, but then, got drawn into some other things. It was going to be all about, again, going over, and this is what we'll do tomorrow, going over what can we do to make ourselves stronger, what to not take into our bodies that weakens us. It's all about inflammation. I've learned a lot working in two very different places. One of them was a pharmaceutical company. And I spent about 4 years there. And then I've worked in a naturopathic office with an herbologist, naturopath, genetic specialist, brilliant mind. great resources, dietitians, just phenomenal atmosphere with all the alternative stuff, and went to all the seminars and listened to some brilliant minds speak, all about our microbiome and, how we can make ourselves healthy. It's two different worlds between the mainstream allopathic world, where it's just hide everything, kind of, hide the symptoms, mask things, and the natural world where you actually build your immune system, learn what to not allow into your body so that you won't be weakening yourself every day. So there's so much we could do to make ourselves stronger. And thank you, Mickey, for your support so much.
There's so much we can do. And, really important to look at things neutral. Don't look at them, in fear, and then make the best out of everything. We all can channel information to our betterment. I think a lot of us are programmed, and I don't know if it's in our DNA or what, but we're programmed to be very destructive, but that can be retaught, relearned. You really have to stop and catch yourself when you're thinking negative and channel that information up and think of the most positive thing that could happen on every level. So we all have this ability in us. Even if things look dire and horrible, there's always a good side. We've all had situations that we've been in, and just cannot seem to find the good in it. And some situations might take years to find the good in it, but there's good in everything.
And thank you, Henry, again. Etsy, you said, as a Creole Indian, do you think it's going to hit us hard? Would it be wise to shut down the U.S. for a few weeks, and it won't be an economy if we all get sick? We're going to see if they're going to shut it down or not. So far the feeling is they would resist shutting it down. At least the Trump administration, it feels like it's going to wait to shut things down. We'll see. Some governments going to be a little bit more proactive. Other ones are not going to be so proactive in that way. As far as, who's it going to hit hard next, that's really interesting. It's hard to say because it looks so bad in China, but then when you start to look at the numbers of Italy, recognize the population difference, if you extrapolate it out, it's worse in Italy if it's all true. And then we could look at Singapore and Macau and Hong Kong and Taiwan, and it didn't hit them as hard as it's hitting Italy and Iran. And considering the timing on it too, it appears like it might be going to hit France, Germany, Spain, and some other European countries proportionately much harder than those Asian countries.
Mickey the Ironworker says, if government pays for our health insurance, does that mean that they can make us take what you want? As far as, I'm guessing you mean, can they force us to take certain things? What's a really sick story is my daughter, she had twins. It was like 5 years ago, and her milk didn't come in. She had to have a C-section. It was very traumatic on her body, and her milk didn't come in, and we didn't have to do formula was like $500 a month, and we didn't have that formula. And the only way that they would pay for the formula is if she did the vaccinations, and the only way we could go around the vaccinations was find a doctor that said, look, they're not strong enough for these vaccinations. And luckily we were able to go around some, but not all, because we just didn't have that kind of money. It was horrible. So in that sense, I guess so, yeah, if you need from them, they might be able to implement things and manipulate you and blackmail you into doing things that you'd rather not do. But then, so that's why we don't want to be in a position of needing from them.
And this, as many people are suspecting, might be part of the next big part of this whole thing. As we're saying, losing our ability to say, no, I don't think I want to have that tetanus shot. No, I don't want to get, V'd for this or for that. No, I don't want my kids having that. That's what we're losing right now. And I've seen it in Washington, Oregon, and California, and I'm trying to think there was another eastern state where kids have been taken away from parents. They've taken them away and they put them into other people's hands. And in one case, a kid actually met with tragedy in surrogate hands, that the government took the kid away. Oh my God, that pisses me off. I hate that stuff. And so, will this affect children? Well, it's already affected the voting in Maine. I believe it's affected the voting in Maine because they had put out a proposition to revoke a law that was mandating that there would be no more religious exemptions. And I do feel it's because of what's going on in the world now. Now it didn't make it through. So that law is staying in effect. So in Maine, there's no more, religious exemptions. I know New York, somebody else was saying that with New York too. Leo, yeah. I would, if I was, with young kids and my family and they pass a law like that, I'm moving. I don't care. I'm moving, just, say goodbye, because I would not live in a state like that. And, we're forgetting what this country was founded on. Again, and the founding fathers, a lot of them were Masons. And there's a lot of thought that they wanted to create a new Atlantis. And so, are all the people involved in these groups all bad? I think there's some with good intentions. A lot of times people getting into these groups don't recognize what go on at the highest levels. But even going back in time, when you look at Jefferson, I agree more with Jefferson. And if you read into the Federalist Papers, we had things in there to keep the government from getting too big, but the government's way bigger than was ever intended. It was never meant to have this type of power. And, people used to say the Republican Party was the small government party, the conservative party, anti-taxation. There is no difference when you look at it. There's differences on some things, like on abortion. There are some differences on some of the moral issues, but when you look at the financial reality, there's no difference. And when you look at Big Brother, there's no difference, because all that just keeps increasing. So, if people really want to be truly conservative, so to speak, and very anti-big government, then they need to stop, supporting Republicans and Democrats, because, both of those groups are completely in the hands of corporate America.
Daisy Tyler, she says, I wish they had some smaller Lysol spray bottles to carry with you. Yeah, I agree. That's actually a great idea.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we got those little hand sanitizers, multi-packs. So Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, National Basketball Association, National Hockey League today all issued the following joint statement. After consultation with infectious disease and public health experts and given issues that can be associated with close contact in pre- and post-game settings, all team locker rooms and clubhouses will be open only to players and essential employees at teams and facilities until further notice. Media access will be maintained in designated locations outside the locker room and clubhouse setting. Temporary changes will be effective beginning with tomorrow's games and practices, and they're going to monitor the situation, take any further steps necessary. So, I wonder if they're going to play the games to empty stadiums eventually and just, put in the fake clapping and the fake roars and applause. Because just having people go out to the games is dangerous if this truly is what it appears to be.
Thank you, Grizzly. I'm getting skinny because of COVID-19. It scared away hikers and campers. Slim pickings on the picnic baskets and coolers. That's fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Grizz. This is Dr. Dina Grayson. So she says, as a MD and a PhD expert on viral pandemic threats, the reason why COVID-19 testing has not been performed is because the Trump administration totally bungled the rollout of COVID-19 tests. If we truly had 1 million test capacity, surely these members would have been tested. And here you see TED location. U.S. House candidate. Can someone explain why people who came in contact with the CPAC attendees are doing self-quarantine instead of getting a test? Wouldn't we want to know ASAP if anyone that attended, interacted, now has the virus? Right? Good. That's a good question. So Dr. Dina says her husband served in Congress for 6 years. The fact that these exposed at the GOP haven't been tested for CV-19 speaks volumes about the lack of coronavirus testing capacity. So she said she's warned it's deadly and it's in a pandemic situation. Hospitals are overwhelmed and cannot provide adequate medical care. And here is Valentina Stucchi replying to Dr. Dina. She's Italian. I live in Lombardia. She says CV-19 is not a flu. Hospitals are overwhelmed. Doctors have to decide who lives and who dies, just like in war. You should learn from us and get prepared. That's a big statement, right? I mean, do you guys get that? I mean, that's a person in Italy saying this is not the flu, because there's still a lot of people that just are saying, it's just a flu. It's just a cold. But this is somebody in Italy that's saying hospitals are overwhelmed. Doctors got to decide who lives and dies, just like in wartime. And you should learn from us and get prepared because probably it's coming here. Here we see, this is Dr. Eric Feigl-Ding, family of COVID-19 supposedly broke self-quarantine. He says, 14 days isolation is really hard for some people. I can understand, but breaking queue to go to a crowded venue like a school dance is extra irresponsible. And this is in Missouri. So they broke quarantine. And every country is going to be different. I saw Saudi Arabia is going to fine people like $160,000, $130,000. Right. And knowing them, they might just behead you.
They might. And Henry Brown, thank you. Henry says, what if masonry started in both Greece and Egypt, twin empires thousands of years ago? Major religions are Masonic temples, books to carry out instructions. Yeah. I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah, I think like anything and everything, things get hijacked too. The thought is the original Illuminati were not necessarily bad, but they were hijacked. And I did the little quotation marks in my hands that you guys couldn't see. It's the same thing. There's definitely dark forces running things right now. So here's the guidelines to differentiate between coronavirus from cold or flu. Stay safe, everyone. So coronavirus, fever, cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing. Symptoms appear after 2 to 14 days. Flu, fever, cough, so that's the same. Muscle aches, so you don't necessarily have muscle aches. Fatigue and weakness. Chills and sweats. Congestion, sore throat. So no sore throat with the COVID-19. Not really saying congestion, chills, or sweats, but you do have shortness of breath. I've heard a dry cough is what they say too, with that as well. And then, of course, allergies, you got sneezing, itchy nose, eyes or roof of mouth, runny, stuffy nose, watery red or swollen eyes.
Henry Brown says, in Indian state of Manipur closes border with Myanmar. Sorry, I butchered that. So more border closes.
Yeah, as we said a while ago, I said I wouldn't be surprised if almost the entire world kind of gets on lockdown at some point. Florida officials on Tuesday reported a third person testing positive for COVID-19. And meanwhile, Florida health officials also expressed frustration that New York officials did not inform them of the infection of a New York patient who traveled to Miami. They had to learn through the news media that had happened. Yeah, you're going to see that too, with states getting mad at states. And don't be surprised if states close their borders to other states. That might happen first before we see some other things. You might see, like Idaho closing its border to Washington State because Washington State has so many. Maybe we'll see Nevada closing its border with California. and then we can't do what we usually like to do, which is, jump on one side, jump on the other side of the border.
That would be sad.
I know.
That would be sad.
But seriously, you will probably see, I would think, states closing their borders with other states. So here we've entered the hunkering down in place stage. And can you handle it mentally? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Can you handle it mentally if you're not going to be able to, say, leave your house for 2 weeks or 4 weeks? Do you think you could handle it, or you think you'll start going crazy?
Well, we're already partly conditioned because of where we're at, but there's a lot of people who rely on, well, they don't rely on anything, but they have a little more civilization around them, and it could be some adjustment time, which would be fair for anybody, is, to expect some adjustment time, and most people are going to do okay, I think.
So I can understand this sentiment. Don't buy the CV hype. Fear equals enslavement. But when you get basically, what if you take like what happened in China, and they actually bored you into the house, or weld you into the house? How does don't buying the hype help in any way, shape, or form? If you didn't prepare, and you don't have any food stocked up, then you're just going to die sooner, or starve to death, depending on the situation. We saw people jumping out of buildings that were like 10, 12 stories high because they couldn't take it anymore, or they were supposedly starving and just decided they were going to jump out of the building. So I can understand the sentiment about not buying the hype, but when you get to the point with Italy now, and the entire country is on lockdown. So, when the lockdown comes to a place near you, right? When we're on lockdown, then, it's good to be prepared. I hope everybody is prepared. Food, water, all the basic necessities.
Yeah, and as far as water is concerned, what we do, instead of needing to go get bottled water all the times, we have a couple of those water pitchers. I think it's just zero water, but one of the things will last like 3 months, one of the filters. So we just got stocked up on the filters, and providing we have running water, we're good to go.
Yeah, and the thing too here is we know where the Indian wells are, so in a worst case scenario, I can't imagine people being posted to where we couldn't get to that spot in the desert, where we could just simply go, and we have like about 10 or 12 5-gallon containers. So we could just fill it up directly from the wells. So we know there's 3 different Indian wells, and then there's a river, underground river that comes up for a brief stretch that we know where it is as well. So, knowing those type of things is important as well.
Yummy.
And Grizz says you could do your own urine therapy.
Yay, you can always drink your own pee. Well, thank you, Grizzly. That's super smart.
Yeah, I've kind of seen Zeke do that after Sassy's gone and marked the spot. Oh, God. So anyway, yeah. But yeah, knowing things like that too, because I have seen where city waters would be, I've seen some places talking about the potential that there would be nobody working there. And maybe not everything is automated. And can you imagine if you didn't have water stocked up or have your own source? Unfortunately for us, where we're getting the land, we're going to have to put a well in, and we're not going to have the money for the well for a while. So, we're going to be trucking stuff in for a while, which is less than ideal. Smoking Papa, I heard that. I saw that comment. So, yeah, how is it going to be when we have to stay and bug in? So CDC is advising Americans over 60 should stock up on supplies and avoid crowds, because it's totally different when you hit your 60s, and if you're in your 70s or 80s, this is extremely dangerous to them. So they are recommending that you stock up and stay away if you're 60 plus. Most definitely. And here we see U.S. coronavirus threat fuels demand for traditional herbal remedies. So, yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea if we did get some backup to the backup on tea tree, eucalyptus, and peppermint. That triple, that's my cold and flu triple threat there, and I always used it on the kids and swear by it. Infected person recently visited Palm Desert Gym.
One above that too. Santa Clara County bans gatherings of 1,000 people. And an infected person recently visits Palm Desert Gym. Oh wow, the sweat is everywhere.
I know a lot of people that are really upset that they can't get to the gym now. I'm grateful we have a home gym, although honestly we're so busy with the videos lately, it's been one thing suffering or another. And in these times, I'm making sure that we get the meditation, QiGong, and mantras in. I think that's the most important, and we do get a cardio in. We really haven't done much for our muscles lately, but we will try to up it. But we're going to be doing a lot of hard labor soon, too. So, and as Nuclear Quantum says, make sure you guys are subscribed and click the bell so you get all the notifications. And we have this California restaurant takes your temperature at the door before they let you in. So they're going to take your temperature at the door. It's Sichuan impression. Isolate the virus. Don't isolate love. Yes. Good practice. Good practice. So yeah, they're going to take your temp before they let you enter. And maybe get some Sichuan beef if you're a carnivore, or maybe something else, maybe like a pad thai or something. I love pad thai. Good stuff.
I know, but what if you don't have any symptoms? Then what? Why take the temperature at the door?
That's just what they're choosing to do.
Well, I guess that's nice.
Well, we shall see. So guys, thank you so much as always for all your support, and thank you also on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Stay prepared, most definitely we're going to another stage. As always, my friends, God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.